together. So I want to get into this topic, and it's not one that I typically cover. Um, it's not something that I've tried my hand at all. Grammys are not something that I'm interested in for the most part. Yet it seems every year they get progressively worse. I know that's the way certain types of things like to do. They like to be edgy. They like to get attention. But whether it's a sign of the degradation of our society or what, it's at a point now that, to me, the Grammys are or should be a no-go. So anyway, to lay this out as quickly as I possibly can, how this happened for me was I spent a lot of time looking up news, and I was reading and listening on, to some different various news sources I like on Monday this week, and of course they were talking about the Sam Smith performance at the Grammy. It was Sam Smith and Kim Petras, and they were talking about how diabolical it was, to put it one way, but really a lot of references to it being satanic, a satanic ritual, Satanism made manifest, all these different things, really dark, really unpleasant. And I looked into it a little bit because I do stay somewhat informed. And yeah, I was pretty disgusted by it, to say the least. It was a performance to a song called Unholy, by two people, I guess within and without, around the LGBTQIAPI, et cetera, et cetera. And so they made a big to-do about that. But saying unholy, well, it was, they're dressed up as devils, they're dressed up as demons, they've got people in very suggestive attire in cages, with what look like probably succubus outside of it, a female demon, just really dark, really satanic imagery, all being as crude as possible. It was a celebration of debauchery, in the sense that Satanism is often called the worship of the self. It was very much that, but it was disturbing. The highlight of that was seeing that. So the main performer, or one of the co-performers, Sam Smith, had put up a tweet saying something like, "This is going to be really special." And CBS responded with a tweet, and CBS is the channel that hosted the Grammys, right? They tweeted back, "You can say that again. We are ready to worship." CBS, a mainstream source of media, says about a song called Unholy, with people in demon attire, doing just terrible things in general, or acting them out, and they say, "We're ready to worship." Who are you ready to worship, CBS? The devil? Are you ready to worship Sam Smith? Satan? Sex? What are they worshiping? That hurt. I was like, oh, that's disgusting. And that was Monday and Tuesday, and and I pushed it aside. I'm not really interested in that kind of culture, and I don't want to touch on it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to talk about it. It's gross. Well, that leads me though to, I thought that was it. I thought that was the end of it. But then yesterday morning, Jess wakes me up, and it was something of the effect of saying, that disgusting Grammy show that we were watching stuff about. Man, there were Christian artists there. I can't believe that. And some of them that we know, and something to that extent. I was laying in bed. I was half asleep. And I was kind of shaken, in the sense that I was like, oh, that really doesn't feel right. That's not good. But at the same time, I was partially asleep. People come up with stupid, weird, crazy stuff on the internet all the time. So I thought to myself, well, surely that's not the case. But I also I couldn't go back to sleep. I was laying there thinking about it. I was like, well, I got a time I can sleep for another half an hour, 45 minutes, but I just lay there thinking about it. And I realized, okay, I got to get up and look into this. This is bothering me. So I spent a fair bit of yesterday looking into various aspects of it. And at one point, I had commented to you guys who I'm replying to on Facebook that, I'd share what I'd found on it. And, so here I am, right? After I said that, I realized, okay, I need to honor my word. I will share what I found on it. But after I wrote up like 5 pages of stuff and I spent hours today researching it, I realized, oh, I need to do a video instead. I'll try to keep it brief. And I didn't really want to do a video right now. I don't look pretty. But it's that or write a novel to you guys, and I don't think you guys want that either. So I started looking into it, and I'm going to try to lay this out as simply as I can. The information that I found about it, and then my opinion of it. And my opinion of it may or may not be right. I definitely concede that point. And there are a lot of people out there on the internet that, for instance, if they see, Christian artists that go to the Grammys, they get a reward, an award, or their earthly reward. I don't know what you want to call it, but they want to tear them down. I don't know if they feel like it's envy or what, but they see someone succeeding and they want to destroy it. And that is not a Christian attitude, and that's not one that I want to emulate. So that's not my goal with even talking about this. I don't often even interface with social media. People say stuff, I don't often comment. This one really had bothered me, though. I felt this barb in my soul because, some of the Christian artists that were there have made really beautiful worship music, and some of which that I, that we have at church that we worship to, that are in a lot of churches across America, probably across the world. And I thought to myself, if they are allowing this kind of thing, or if they are standing with this kind of thing, it just really bothers me. And so I had to figure out what do I do with this information? So anyway, a few facts laid out before I get to my opinion. Because I was confused about some of this. It was surprising how difficult it was to find actual statistic, like just good information about the whole thing. You had a lot of different people talking about it, complaining about it, saying different things about it. Not a whole lot of facts. And so I'm sure if I were a better researcher, I would have found it quicker, but I eventually got to the bottom of certain things. So a few facts from Sunday. So there are actually two primary events. I was really bothered by the thought that there might be Christian artists that were there during that demonic imagery, during that satanic performance, and that they would then, say nothing about it, almost approve of it through their silence, and that bothered me. I was, for a little while at least, temporarily heartened by the fact that I found that there are two primary events, and they're combined to create the Grammys. So first, you have the Grammy premiere, and that's basically the largest amount of things. That's the biggest amount of categories, from rap to country to Christian, gospel, etc., etc. You have a lot of different categories that they go over. That happens early Sunday afternoon, and that is where the Christian artists were, because that's where that category was covered. There's really not performances during that one because they cover so many. I think there were a couple songs. I watched a fair bit of it today and did a lot of skimming through it because it was a few hours long and incredibly boring. But I got to the parts that mattered, I felt, to this topic. And I watched through that. So that is, the majority of them did take place during that event. That is where the majority of the Christian artists that we saw, Maverick City, Brandon Lake, those were the main ones because they got Grammys. That's where they received their award. And so that happened earlier in the day. The second event happens at an arena directly across the road from it. So they are separate in a sense. They're separate locations, but they're not even a block apart. So one's on one side of the street. That's the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. And then you have the Crypto.com Arena across the street. And that's where the second one takes place. That took place a few hours after the first uh, ceremony or after the premiere. Then you have the Grammy performances. That's where you had really the darker performances, the demonic music, the demonic imagery, um, and so they were at separate places at separate times. Hopefully, and I don't honestly know, but hopefully that means that the Christian artists were not also present for the evening one because that was where they're kind of complicit. Oops, yanked on my cord. What happened? That's where they're kind of complicit if they're silent in my mind. Maybe not, but that's my opinion. But and there were some Christian artists that were I was able to verify they were at both. I don't know if all were. I mean, time wise, they definitely could be. It was just a couple hours later. Location wise, they definitely could be. It was across the street. Whether they were invited to both, I don't know. Didn't find that out. Maybe you guys know. Maybe somebody knows. Uh, so anyway, um, let's see. Were there any other notable facts? That was the first bundle of facts that I was able to really pin down that I just wasn't sure about at first. And I was heartened by the fact that they were at least somewhat separate. Now, to be honest, well, I'll get to that because that's my opinion part of it. So, my initial disgust at everything was centered around two of those facts. So, one being that whole performance, the unholy performance. The song itself, even titled Unholy, it is apparently about a couple that leave their kids at home to go out and commit adultery with different people. That's the point of the song. So again, debauchery, sexual immorality, core to Satanism in a lot of ways. Then you have the imagery, very demonic, very Satan glorifying. A lot of people call it Satanism. They're like it was a satanic ritual, and sure, I don't know. It could be. From performances, or from appearances, from looking at it from my angle, all I know for sure is it was a performance and it had a lot of heavy demonic imagery and it really glorified Satan, which I don't like, seeing as how he's, the enemy of our souls, our adversary. And I don't think that should be, I don't think that Christians should be mixing with that, but I guess in some cases that's between them and God. I wouldn't want to. I'll say that. I'll also say though it was not a subtle Satanism. It was not. Sometimes you hear about these music videos and people are doing little hand signs of different stuff. Like Illuminati and blah 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 blah. And some of that may be valid. A lot of occult symbols. I know that in music. But in this case, it wasn't a subtle one. It wasn't like they had stuff here and there. I mean, it was everything was red, horrifying color. Everything was right in your face. People gyrating all over the place, danced like succubus, and the main guy danced, on like a pole in gross red leather, like demon horns. And I'll slap a picture up. It was pretty gross. Um, and then, of course, the second point of discussed, probably the greater one, was CBS referencing that first performance and saying, "We're ready to worship." Okay. Our culture is, we were for a while a Christian nation, but if that's where our culture is now as a whole in the mainstream, we can't be. We can't be at this point. Interestingly, CBS since deleted that tweet from backlash, understandable backlash, worth it. But so there is that. And I thought that was the end of my disgust until Jess woke me up and told me about the other, and I started digging into it. So then we had a separate couple of facts. I think first of all, let's see. Oh yeah, I already mentioned that. They were separate, and I could not confirm whether the Christian artists were also present at the second event. I only know that Maverick City was for sure. And the reason for that is a little bit more of the information I found. They took part in a performance as well. So the second event, the one across the street later that night, that was where they had all the big songs and dances and performances. They did a collaboration with a secular artist, a rap artist known as, I actually don't know how to say this, Quavo, um, and they did a collaboration with him, which was a memorial song to somebody that had passed away. So they were definitely there, though, because they performed there. I don't know whether Brandon Lake also was still there or not. I don't know about any others. I honestly just hope not, because I wouldn't have wanted to had to sit through that. And it would be preferable, I would think, to walk out if you were there, seeing what I saw in the videos of it. It was pretty disturbing for a Christian. It was meant to be. It was purposefully meant to be disturbing. That's the thing. It was not an accident. Now to my opinions, and I'll wrap this up. So I was relieved to a degree that they were separate, but I'm not sure that you can truly say that they were separate when they were right across the street. Um, I still hope that the Christian artists were not attending the second part, but I don't know. Yes, that's between them and God. Uh, I will say though that they were not separate events though, as far as being, they were the Grammys. Those two parts make up the whole. And so to be receiving a award from the first part is to be complicit with the second part, especially if you don't speak up later. Uh, So I don't know. Now, finding out that Maverick City attended, that was disappointing because, I really enjoy some of their music, and I don't like that they were there. Especially because they were there and I've not seen them say anything since about it. Um, Actually, now that I think about it, there was one comment. I dug through a lot of different comments, a lot of different things. There may have been a lot I missed. So if you guys see some, that you want to share with me, that'd be great too. Because I spent enough time looking through it myself that I'm not going to look anymore. I'm done with it. Um, but I know Brandon Lake had said at one point, one of the comments, something like, because a fan had said, "Oh, I hope if you were there, I'm sure you were praying," or something like that. And Brendan Lake said, "Yeah, we sure were. We were praying the whole time for a breakthrough." Or yeah, I'm quoting it wrong. It was something like that. Um, but I'll be honest. For me, that might make some people feel better, but that wasn't actually a release statement. That wasn't even a statement, on Twitter or Facebook where they posted it up and said anything. That was just him responding down in a comment section somewhere to somebody, and that still was not wasn't enough for me personally, because it didn't disavow anything. It didn't say, it wasn't even like, "Oh wow, I was really grateful." Dog, stop pushing on me. I was really grateful to get my Grammy. If they're trying to be diplomatic about it, um, and that was good. But the the second part was definitely unfortunate, and I don't stand with that kind of content. I didn't see a single person say that, which is bothersome to me. Now, and I know too that Maverick City, the one that they collaborated with, that Quavo, the song itself, was talking about the nephew of Quavo that died, and even in that song, the artist is, saying, "Oh, remembering when we were smoking blunts together." Not the most edgy of things, but is that something that a Christian worship team should be joining itself with, right? In mainstream, people. I've seen a lot of people say, "Well, it's important that Christians be there to be the light in the darkness," but in that particular case, at least, um, it's really not what they were doing. They were joining with them in celebrating the performance. There wasn't any light in that, They were actually just singing. I was listening to some of the lyrics of that song, saying, "Oh, we'll see them again. We'll see them again," something like that. The one rap artist was saying, "Oh, I don't know where you are in the universe or wherever, but I'll see you again." Again, is that a stance that you want to take doctrinally as a Christian, that doesn't matter what you believed, we're all gonna see our loved ones again in the afterlife? It was odd to me. Now, I'm not going to critique it too much in that regard, but I didn't really. I thought it was weird. Okay, I just thought it was weird that they joined with him on that. Um, oh, there was one more performance of note too that was really quite blasphemous. Jay-Z, which I guess is Beyonce's husband, is, I don't know. Who could keep up? Who cares for these people? But anyway, he did a song called "God Did," and it was to the theme of the Last Supper. But the Last Supper was really opulent, and the lyrics of the song are talking about basically how Jay-Z is referring to himself as Hove, like Jehovah, referring to himself as God in the song. And so that one was more subtle. That one, it was like, oh, gross and offensive towards Christians. And yet it was at least subtle. So maybe people could be excused for seeing that and not being like, whoa, I don't want to be part of this, because it wasn't as in your face as hey, I'm the devil on Dancing Around with Strippers. Anyway, um, so I guess to fully wrap it up, my take on it is really simple. I'm not necessarily saying that that Christians should not go. Actually, my opinion is probably that Christians shouldn't be going and getting Grammys, because getting accolades from this world, I mean, that's one thing if you're getting recognition in the sense that you're pushing forward the light of Christ and the gospel because you're able to bring it to more people. But in this case with the Grammys, it's kind of like you're going and getting an award from the devil at this point, because the Grammys are so, every year they just push something more and more obscene. So yeah, personally, I don't think that they should go, but I will say that's between them and God. I am not the judge in this particular situation, right? Um, I think it's a mistake for them to go, but that's my opinion. I in seeing, now this is the thing that bothered me more than everything, and this is where my final opinion lies. I looked up all these different names that were there at the Grammys, or that were mentioned, that were nominated, that were put forward, that received Grammys. Kirk Franklin, Maverick City, Elevation Worship, Toby Mac, David Crowder, um, which I guess I really liked David Crowder's music in the past. I'm sad to see him there, honestly. Phil Wickman, I know some of his music. Chris Tomlin, Ann Wilson, I think she did that My Jesus song. A lot of different ones. I went and I looked at social media on the two main ones that people often will put things like this on. I looked on Facebook, I looked on Twitter, and I did not, when I looked at every single one of these, I didn't see a single one of them denouncing the debauchery and evil that was put on display at the Grammys. That's what I didn't like. That's what bothers me more than anything. There were a lot of them, though. They put up posts about, oh, we're so grateful we got to go to the Grammys. It was amazing. It was great. Thanks, praise God that we went. They'd say that, but they won't say, but I don't want to align myself with the crazy, non-binary, gender fluid, devil costumed man dancing with strippers on the stage with red lights and flame, and clearly, why? How hard is it for them to just put a simple thing out there denouncing that? And that does bother me. Now, I can't tell them what to do, but that single thing will cause me personally to distance myself from their work in the future. And that's just the truth about it. Because if you can go to one of those places, receive an award from them, and then not speak up after the fact about the dark stuff that you saw there, that's not light in the darkness. That's darkness in the darkness. You don't shine a light by doing the same thing that the world is doing. So that is what truly bothered me. And I know that took quite a few minutes. I hope you just had this playing in the background while you drink some tea or coffee or something, because that was long. Uh, but either way, maybe this will get me back into doing my videos. I want to get back into doing the Christian betterment videos. I don't know if that's what I'd say it. I've been doing a chain of videos about pornography addiction and pornography recovery, and I may get back into that. I've been trying. I was just down for a while. And it's hard to get back in when you have let something slide for a while. I want to get back into that. But anyway, yeah, I hope this wasn't too long. I hope it was somewhat informative. And on top of that, um, if you did watch the whole thing, thanks for sticking with it. If you do want to like and subscribe, it's not like I am ever going to do anything super amazing with this, but I do intend to keep pushing out videos, especially about things that, addictions, distractions, things that hold us back in Christian life. And I'll get back to it. Thank you guys. Have a good night.